October 22nd of 2025.
Let's try this again, Rob.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, we're good, but we're trying this again, everybody. Sorry, the internet is still not working in the world of internets, I guess. And Rob Brand and I are endeavoring, but we are on the air. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Yeah. Hey, ready to go. Look, it's been a wild week. I think everybody out there is feeling it. We're going to have to work through it, which
anybody who works in apps, anybody who works in technology, AWS, Meltdown, all that stuff, you know the pain, but we're on the air, so I'm glad about that.
Yeah, I am too. Look, it is a Wednesday, October 22nd of 2025. Rob Brown in Nashville, Brendan Martin in Ocala. Got a great lineup today. Kevin Scarbinsky, one of the absolute best sports writers and best people in the media, U.S. Basketball Hall of Fame writer down in Birmingham. We're going to cover SEC, talk a little basketball, what he found out. Oakley McFerrin, the intern, down on the plains. We'll have Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas checking in with us in the second half hour, along with Vince Ferrara, the sports animal up in Knoxville. What's going on with the Big Orange, but we'll bounce around all the schools in the league. Take a picture with your cell phone of the QR codes. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, 8 channels simultaneously. And
if you're watching on your cell phone, take a screen grab of the QR code and then use your QR code reader, or just go to your favorite social media network and search for SEC Sidelines and Rob Brown. It's all over YouTube. It's all over Facebook. It's all over Twitter.
Yeah. And we do a lot of stuff. And again, I know the last few days people have been, hey, what's going on? Well, we're here, and let's bring in Kevin and Oakley and get started on the roundabout discussion, because, here we are. We got 6 weeks left of the regular college football season, guys. And Kevin, you were, SEC basketball media days last week at the Royal Bohemian, and man, life goes by fast. One of Wilson's Pledge brothers from Auburn is like the chief of food and beverage at the Royal Bohemian now. I'm like going, it's just wild. But Kevin, what'd you learn about this upcoming basketball season? And then we'll get your thoughts, and Oakley will chime in on this football season. But basketball is a big, big, big deal, bigger than it's ever been.
Absolutely. And good morning, guys. It was it was a fast break, nonstop for 2 days. Yeah. All 16 men's teams in the SEC and all 16 women's teams over 2 days brought their head coaches and 2 or 3 players from each team. And it was a consensus among the men's coaches that last year, obviously, everyone agrees it was the greatest season in SEC history. It was the greatest season in any conference's history, based on how good the league was top to bottom. 14 teams, 14 out of 16 getting in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And it may not be quite at that level this year. There were so many older players last year, so many veterans, so many transfers, so many seniors, so many fifth-year seniors who played like experienced veterans. They don't quite have that kind of age and experience this year, but it still will be the best league in the country. You've got Kentucky. I'll tell you what, Mark Pope, if you're ever feeling down, if you're ever feeling a little depressed, go listen to Mark Pope.
Yeah.
He's one of the most upbeat, optimistic, positive personalities you could want to be around. And he was very, very excited about his Kentucky Wildcats and getting Otega Oweh back, their star. He's the preseason SEC player of the year. But it's going to be a dogfight again. Alabama and Auburn may drop off a little bit, maybe not. That remains to be seen. They both played exhibition games in Birmingham last week and both put up a lot of points. You got to be careful, though, about reading too much into exhibition games. But we did see that both teams can score. We do know that. So it's going to be another fun year in the SEC.
Yeah, and another thing you mentioned about Auburn and Alabama, just you've got a generation of Auburn fans growing up that don't know successful football. They know successful basketball. And the thought possibly that basketball won't be able to rescue the Auburn family, that's a tough – Halloween is not until the 31st.
It's funny you say that, because I wrote a column last week, and this is Stephen Pearl's task now that he's taken over for his dad. If you go back to the day that Bruce Pearl was hired and introduced at Auburn, since that day, football hasn't been the same and basketball hasn't been the same on the Plains, in opposite directions. Football's had some moments. They had obviously the big wins in 2017 over Georgia and Alabama when they were both number one. 2019 winning the Iron Bowl in a crazy shootout. But for the most part, football it hasn't been the same because in 2013, football played for the national championship and won the SEC. And basketball has done nothing but go up, up, up.
Yeah.
So Steven's got to keep it at that level. He doesn't have to go to the Final Four every year as his dad did with him on the staff twice, but they've got to maintain that high level of being a contender. And meanwhile, football's got to figure it out, and they seem a long way from figuring it out.
Yeah. Among the students on campus during this great famine that we're undergoing down there, how big of an interest is there in basketball? Is everybody saying, "Hey, wait till basketball," kind of like Kentucky used to say?
I mean, Auburn's always going to be a football school. Basketball is great. I think Hugh Freeze was Bruce Pearl's biggest fan last year because basketball kind of took the pressure off him after the season. Not everyone was talking about it. I mean, you can't lose 11 close games out of your 12 in your tenure. I think everyone's just tired of it. Everyone's tired of the same thing from last year. Freeze said, wait till year 3. Okay, well, it's year 3. You've got the roster. You've got championship-level defense, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, probably the most talented receiver room in the country. You handpicked your quarterback, paid him a lot of money, and it's the same result as we got last year with a much less talented roster. So, I mean, I think the time's really ticking on Hugh Freeze, and if he loses this week, I think he's gone by Sunday morning.
Yeah. Sunday morning. Remember that?
I think that's what people will want to happen. I don't know if Cohen will pull the trigger.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, that being said, looking around the league, I mean, Florida already, pulled the plug on Billy Napier. They're moving on. They're getting after it. What's your gut feeling on what happens at Auburn or any other schools? Sam Pittman's already gone, so who's left?
Well, there will be more coaching changes. I think that's pretty clear at this point. We don't know exactly which schools will pull the trigger and make a change, or which coaches will leave one job because they're doing a very, very good job and take another job.
Yeah,
that will create another domino effect. What Auburn's going to do about Hugh Freeze? Look, they could have pulled the plug on Sunday. I think a lot of Auburn fans, I heard from a lot of Auburn fans who were checking their notifications on Sunday and hoping to get a notification that move had been made. Yeah. And that's another thing. Once you've lost the fan base, and I think it's pretty clear to say that Hugh Freeze has lost the Auburn fan base. Once you've done that, there's almost no turning back. There's no winning them back. Yeah, you can beat Arkansas and you can beat Kentucky, and that's going to thrill and excite no one. I'm not sure you can beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a much better football team when Auburn goes to Nashville in a few weeks. So, and I don't think they can compete with – I don't think the Jordan-Hare magic is enough for them to beat Alabama this year down on the Plains. So, what are we doing here? What are they waiting for? I don't know, but I will be very surprised if Hugh Freeze is the Auburn coach in 2026.
Yeah, and I can tell you with all the different 15 or so text groups that I have of different Auburn fan groups around the country, it's normally 400 or 500 texts during a typical game, just my Auburn crowd. And I've got a lot of other fan bases that I'm in with too. It's down to crickets is too loud for it. I mean, almost that's when I know apathy has set in. And it's Florida went through it, just the same thing. It'll be fun. Kevin, the league right now, this weekend, one of the most intriguing matchups is Ole Miss going to Oklahoma. That front seven, Brent Venables they're pretty good. We had Brandon Drum of the OU Insider on yesterday and talking about, John Mateer's hand. I said, the newest bar that should open in Norman is John Mateer's hand. If they have a big season, because I've never heard so much talk about someone's hand.
Well, we know how valuable he is to that offense. He was basically the offense before he got hurt, and then obviously wasn't 100% against Texas. But they did get a bit of a running game last week. They found their tailback, that freshman, had a nice game against South Carolina. Ole Miss obviously can score. They scored against Georgia, and it took a little longer. Wasn't it interesting? It took a little longer than normal for Kirby Smart and Glenn Schulman to figure it out. Yeah. But once they figured it out, they shut them down, and Georgia took control late in that game. So this is a huge game. And I'll tell you what, Ole Miss people, I believe, and I've heard from some of them, are really watching closely because they remember now that he is clearly the leading candidate at Florida, or the guy that, I don't know about Scott Strickland, but certainly the fan base wants Lane Kiffin. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
And what happened the last time another SEC school set its sights on hiring Lane Kiffin and was given indications that he was coming, which is why I joked that if to Florida, that if you get that same feeling, if you get the feeling that he's coming, get it in writing, because Auburn didn't, and it didn't happen. But what happened to Ole Miss that year? They went straight down. Well, they lose their last 4 games after he was connected to the Auburn opening after the Brian Harsin dismissal.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss fans are going to be watching, and if this Ole Miss team does not turn it around, if they lose a second straight game, if they lose to Oklahoma, and then they kind of, just fade as the season goes down the stretch, Ole Miss fans, I wonder how much they love Lane Kiffin now. And they say there's no way he would leave. And Ole Miss is a better job now. And I don't buy that for a second. But if they do fade, I wonder how much love there's going to be for Lane Kiffin as we get into November.
Yeah. At Oakley, you think about what Kevin just said. Ole Miss going on the road to Oklahoma, if they lose that game, that's going to feed into the narrative. Look at Kiffin's record against top 5 and top 10 teams.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to win. He's got to win the big game, but at the same time, he just beat LSU at home, who was top 10 at the time, and I mean, they were a stop away from winning this past weekend. If they lose close this weekend, I wouldn't be too worried, because they've got 3 home games in a row that they had to start for a chance to play in the playoffs. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think Ole Miss fans are going to have any concerns about him in terms of wanting him to stay, but I think it's only a matter of time till Lane Kiffin makes the jump and gets to that A-tier job, which I still, as much as Ole Miss fans may try to convince themselves, I still think they're a tier below all these other schools.
Well, Kevin, I mean, and they've 3 of the last 4 years finished in the top 12 with Lane Kiffin. So, I mean, it's a big deal. All right. Another one, we're in Nashville. We got to go back to Memphis after the show today. But Missouri at Vanderbilt, that's got to be one of the best games in the country this weekend. I mean, we're talking, yeah.
It's the highest price ticket in the SEC. The lowest ticket's $270.
College game day will be there, of course. I think maybe we've discovered the reason behind why the internet just doesn't want to work, because maybe the biggest game in the country is Missouri at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And both teams are in contention to go to the SEC championship game, and both teams are in contention to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
That's something that's hard, I think, for us more seasoned fans to wrap your mind around, because we know the history, particularly of Vanderbilt. Missouri hasn't been in the league that long and went to the SEC championship game its first 2 years in the league, something, of course, Vanderbilt has never done, nor has Ole Miss, we might add. But this game, look, these teams are legit. I think Vanderbilt's a better team. And I go back to the Vanderbilt-Alabama game. Alabama was fortunate that they created their own luck, but they turned Diego Pavia and the Commodores over twice in the red zone.
Yeah.
Or that's a completely different football game. That offense was a thing of beauty against LSU. And LSU's defense has been really good, as we all know.
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt just picked them apart.
Mm-hmm.
And Pavia was a wizard. He made all the right plays. He made plays when there were no plays. He made something out of nothing, pulled rabbits out of his hat, and they looked like the better football team. And how many times could you ever say that? Of course, this is the first time they beat LSU since, 1990? Watson Brown was the coach there in Nashville.
I was there.
Were you really?
A friend of our son was an offensive lineman for Vanderbilt.
Rob, you're like Forrest Gump. You've been everywhere.
I mean, I was actually there. I was in town for a triathlon, and the day before we went with our friends. Joe Richards and his son Tim was an offensive lineman, played in Columbus at Brookstone, and Tim was a great kid, about 6'6", 300 something. But it was the 11:30 a.m. Jefferson Pilot game, and we got a ticket. There were plenty of them, But Kevin Oakley lives in Nashville. Well, he's at Auburn, lives in Auburn now. But when you're downtown Nashville, we went to there's a great organization here. We got to go volunteer. His mom and a lot of great people are involved. People love in Nashville. And if you hadn't heard about it, start paying attention to what's going on. They're going to get one of these down in Auburn, working with people who are on the streets that need help. And it's just an unbelievable organization. And afterwards, we're downtown at Bricktop's restaurant down by the Bridgestone Arena. And there's just tourists everywhere. And one of the people there said, look, this is the new Las Vegas. You come here for 3 nights, put on your craziest clothes, go get country, get liquored up at, all the bars on Broadway. This town, and I don't know if they know about Vanderbilt or not, but that is going to be the center of the football universe Saturday. We're living in some crazy times, Oak.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping they would set up game day on Broadway like they did on Beale Street for Memphis SMU, I believe.
I was there November 1st, 2019. Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, but they're doing it in the Vandy lawn. But I expect a big scene for that and a big showing out as a chance for Vanderbilt to show how bought in they are. And Vanderbilt's got money now. If they can get some donors to believe, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I got a lot of donors, Kevin. Kevin, you've been covering the SEC a long time. Have you sat down, had a sit down with, you and Buddy are great for the sit downs. You talked to Clark Lee lately?
No, I have not. I have not had the good fortune to have a conversation with him. He's very impressive, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was talking with someone about this yesterday about the Auburn job, and I asked, when's the last time Auburn had a head football coach that truly lit a fire under the fan base? And this person has been around a while, and he said Pat Dye. Yeah. I mean, really lit a fire under the fan base. And I see some of that in Clark Lee. And I don't know that we recognize that from the outside until that Netflix special from last season, any given Saturday.
Yeah.
And he's in the meeting room and he's cussing up a storm and he has got fire. He's breathing fire. And what he's done with that football program has been pretty remarkable. There's one caveat or maybe one asterisk to ask, and people I know who are thinking of changing coaches or may have already changed a coach are saying, hey, what about Clark Lee? Can he sustain it beyond Team Pavia? Because that was a brilliant move on his part to bring in not just Diego Pavia, but his whole coaching staff, or at least his support staff, that the most important people on that staff at New Mexico State. Can Clark Lee sustain this beyond this magician that they brought on board? So that's what we don't know. But Clark Lee seems to have all the right stuff to do that. And obviously that's his school. So it means something more to him. It just means more, if you will, for him at Vanderbilt than it might mean to him somewhere else. Doesn't mean he wouldn't leave. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. However, he certainly does seem like he's got the right stuff. And he's also got one of the oldest, most experienced teams in the country. Yeah. They've got so many seniors and graduates, and they've been smart about how they've built their roster. And it's showing up because this is way beyond fluke territory now. This is a very good football team.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Oakley is an MBA grad, and Clark Lee's an MBA grad, the gentlemen scholars. I think that means a lot. And I'm about a mile down the street from Belmead and Harpeth Hall. And I think there's a powerful allure for him to stay here. And what they're doing is, it's beyond fluke. Throw that out the window. I mean, this is a solid team. All right, Kevin, another one before we go back to Oak. Looking this weekend, Alabama goes to South Carolina. And also, LSU hosts Texas A&M. I didn't buy into the LSU Kool-Aid. I didn't drink it all summer because of Brian Kelly's there. And he wins a lot of games, but does he win over the fan bases wherever he is? I don't think so.
I think there's a lot of concern, shall we say, from the LSU fan base on where LSU is in his, fourth year there?
Yeah.
Came in strong, got him to the SEC championship game. But when you know that his 3 predecessors, coaches of varying competence, shall we say, all won national championships. And by the way, there is some rumbling. I this would be good for entertainment value that UAB has at least some interest in Ed Orgeron in becoming their head coach. Now, I don't know if that'd be good or bad for the Blazers, but it certainly would put a spotlight on them, and it certainly would be entertaining for those of us here in Birmingham. I'd be at a lot more press conferences if Ed Orgeron were the head coach at UAB.
Please tell me it's going to happen.
I can't tell you that right now, but with the incompetent AD they have there, there's no telling where they're going to end up. But again, Brian Kelly's three predecessors all won the national championship.
Yes.
Les Miles when he was eating grass, and of course Nick Saban when he was showing the world what he was going to become as the best coach, one of the best in the league, and maybe the best coach in history. So your leash is getting shorter and shorter if you're Brian Kelly. And the side of the ball that's falling short, this is very similar to Billy Napier at Florida and Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Brian Kelly's an offensive guy. And guess what side of the ball is not holding up its end of the bargain?
Offense.
It's the LSU offense. Now, the defense got shredded by Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt's very good. But, they seem to have mismanaged the Garrett Nussmeier core injury situation throughout the year. He's never seemed right this year, Nussmeier, that is. And that offense has never gotten going this year. So this is going to be interesting. You say, well, a guy with his record, they would never move on him. Well, all of that's out the window after James Franklin at Penn State. Yeah. Your record, your overall record may seem wonderful in the aggregate, but when you start getting into the details, these programs have high expectations and they're paying you high dollar amounts. So you better perform at a high level, or sooner or later, they're going to ask you to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and they're going to pay you well to do it. Oak, Garrett Nussmeier. Wilson thought he was a first-round draft pick. I mean, and y'all talk a lot. I don't know if he's hurt. I'm with Kevin, but
I think he's just not quite right, to be frank. I mean, you watch him how he throws this year. Like on some of his deep balls, he throws all arm. He doesn't put any of his legs into it. And I don't think really people understood how severe it was tendonitis at the beginning of the year. And there were some rumblings that he could be out multiple weeks, possibly the year. Then all of a sudden he was fine. Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but he's definitely not right. And it's kind of shown because the thought coming in for LSU this year was, can the defense play good enough? And, the defense has been top 10 in the country, top 3 in the SEC. And they're sitting at 6-2 or 5-2 with probably being eliminated this weekend. I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought that after seeing their win against Clemson. So I think he's not right. And I think more will come out probably after the season, maybe as we get into the draft process. And speaking on Brian Kelly, I think he lost the fan base, or the fan base was against him from the moment he started faking that accent and dancing with the recruit. He ended up losing to Alabama. He was never the right guy for me at LSU. I just don't think that's the type of coach LSU has succeeded with or needs and fits their culture. So, I think they move on from him after this season. Yeah, because they're looking at 7-5 right now.
When they lost that game, when they played Clemson, I was like, I know everybody's going to say that's two great teams. My takeaway, just my gut reaction was that's two crappy offenses. Is what that is, and both of them. I mean, hell, let's face it. 3 of the top 4 teams in the preseason aren't even ranked anymore. Penn State, LSU. Well, LSU is Clemson. LSU. No, the top 4 were Ohio State, and then Texas, Clemson, and Penn State. And I think Texas got some sympathy votes and got back in, but wow, they're struggling. And Dudley will be with you in just a sec. And Kevin, if you can stay a few more minutes, about 3 more minutes before you go. Look at LSU's schedule. They've still got to play after Texas A&M this weekend. They got to play at Alabama and at Oklahoma, and that's why it's not looking right for them at all.
No, I mean they're as Oakley said, they're staring down 7-5 right now. They could be out of the race before they even get their bye week next week, as they usually do before playing Alabama that first Saturday in November. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they can salvage something out of this year, which is funny to say when they're sitting here with only 2 losses at this point. Yeah. But they don't look, you look at the teams in the league and you can look at the records and you can say, all these teams have just 1 loss or 2 losses, but look at how they're playing. Yeah. And they're not playing like a team that's going to surge in November and make a run at the SEC championship game.
What's true is after 3 or 4 games, if your offense is not very good, that's pretty much who you are. You know, zebras don't change their stripes, just their watering holes or just where they play, home or away. And they're really you look at the money that's being spent. We talk about federal government and state government waste. God, I'll put any of these college athletic departments right up there at the top with just throwing money away. I mean, you wrote a great column, Kevin. You remember years ago. When is Auburn, when are these other SEC schools going to stop giving these coaches these long contracts that punish the universities and then reward the coaches for failure just to make them go away? When?
It is the most mind-boggling financial mismanagement maybe in any industry in the country. The fact that when someone fails, they fail. The reason you're firing them is they failed. They didn't win enough football games, and you're going to reward them with generational wealth in their buyout.
Yeah.
It's absolute insanity, and it continues. And, you know, Jimmy Sexton versus any athletic director, president, booster is a bigger mismatch than Georgia Tech against Cumberland back in the day.
Yes, it was.
I mean, he must just laugh every time he goes into a negotiation with one of these ADs and their minions. So I don't know when it's going to change. I don't know what it's going to take, because you're just throwing money. You might as well just light dollar bills on fire and throw them out the window of your athletic department. The way these and if you do what Scott, and look, I like Scott Strickland. I've known him a long time. But if you sign a coach to one of these contracts and you don't include a mitigation clause, if you have to let him go, where they have to, if they have to look for another job, a comparable job, and once they get that job, that reduces the buyout by that amount. Billy Napier's contract at Florida didn't include a mitigation clause. Go explain that. Make that make sense.
They got a really good law school at Florida, I thought. I know they do. Hey, well, real quick, I'll tell you, I got one better, flushing money down the toilet. Being in the financial services industry for 34 years and counting, Merrill Lynch was just absolutely should never be allowed to get away with this one. But they paid Stanley O'Neill to go away after he did a poor job, $147 million. So I've seen worse. So it's crazy. But Kevin, tell people how they can follow you. And you got a great podcast. I love it on this channel, folks, at least a couple of times a week, no matter where you are. Lift weights with your brain and listen to Scarbo.
Well, thanks for that, Rob. Yeah, it's go to YouTube. It's Kevin Scarbinsky Scarbo Knows. We go twice a week, Mondays and either Thursday or Fridays, depending on how the internet's working, maybe that day. But and also you can keep up with my columns in the Birmingham News. You can find those on al.com. The Birmingham News, of course, is an online edition now since we don't print the newspaper anymore. And you can also follow me on Twitter at X at Kevin Scarbinsky.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Guys.
Looking forward to talking a lot of hoops with you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Dudley Dawson, inside Arkansas. Good morning. How are you? Oh, my gosh, here comes the bear, checkerboard, orange and white, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal. We're in Nashville. Got Oakley, the intern, on here, executive producer Brendan Martin. What a week, guys. Y'all have all felt it. The internet. 6:15 Monday morning, I see where Amazon's having some problems, and it just reverberated. I just wonder how many people in the world went into deep depression when some box or multiple boxes weren't delivered on their doorstep. I think these people get up during the night, eat a tub of ice cream, and just binge shop. You know, it's like, I ordered what? Yeah, you ordered 6 pairs of parachute pants or something like that. But Vince, Dudley,
I had the opportunity to sleep in until 10 a.m. that morning, so I missed all the excitement.
We're still working through it, but hey, having Brendan Martin as your executive producer is like having a top-notch, like the pilots who fly Air Force One. We lose an engine, we got 3 more. We got 2 more. As long as we got 1, we're okay. So that's all I got to say. Dudley, Bobby Petrino, Arkansas, they've lost by 3, 1, and 6 to Ole Miss, and then there was the Notre Dame game. Is Bobby Petrino in the driver's seat to get the job, or what names are you hearing? I know you don't traffic in rumors, but the world is waiting.
Well, he has. He's definitely in the driver's seat because he has the reins right now.
Yeah,
I mean, as I think I've said last week,
Oh.
he's going to have to win some games. I mean, when the story of this season is written, the title outside the book will say one score loss, because that's continues to be the way they're operating. He's coaching as if he's going to be the coach here next year, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But I think you've got 2 more home games here coming up. Auburn and Mississippi State. Better win those. If you're going to keep things going. As far as the candidates, I mean, you can reel off every young head coach that's having success out there. You can take Kirk Cignetti off the list, I guess. But it's as I've said all along. I think there are a lot of people who love the redemption story of Bobby Petrino coming back and doing this, and he would come cheaper than probably most guys that you're going to get. My big thing is that I don't care who the head coach is. If I'm a fan, I just want a really, really, really good defensive coordinator because this thing is just nuts over here.
Yeah, it really is. And you look at Vince, Tennessee, that loss to Alabama. It was a tight game, and Oakley was at the game with his dad. Left the plains and went up to Tuscaloosa on special assignment. But everything kind of turned from there. But Tennessee can definitely win out, and they do that. They're going to the CFP. What's the attitude? I'm with Mark Ham last night, Audrey's cousin Mark, huge Tennessee fan. He's frustrated, but I'm like, that's the SEC. Every game's big. And don't think Vanderbilt won't be big at the end of the season, too.
Yeah, great to be on with you guys, as always. And when you look at the rest of the schedule, I could see this team winning out. They're going to have to get better to do that, but it's possible for them to win out. I can also see them going 2-3. And good luck with an offseason if this Tennessee team goes 7-5.
Yeah.
It would, and then with a bowl game still to determine. So, fans are not happy. The criticism towards Josh Heupel, it just continues to grow. I'm not saying by any means it's the masses or, anything other than the fringe saying, we're done with Josh Heupel. Most people are not, and they appreciate what he has done in resurrecting a program that was just a mess when he took it over and the consistency that they're winning with. But there's also the craving to get to that next level. And for you to get to that next level, you're going to have to win games away from home and prove that you can do so against big-time competition. And largely, Tennessee has not done that. They've won some games at home, but not against the elite. And if you want to be in that group with them, you got to win at their place at some point. So a lot of discussion still going back to last week and how that game played out. The decision to not only just throw the ball because everybody knew that they had to throw the ball with just 9 seconds and no timeouts at the end of the first half, but to try to play action out of it when Alabama and everyone knew they couldn't and wouldn't run the ball in that situation with no timeouts. And so you play action, you show heavy set, and then Alabama calls a timeout. So guess what they have time to do? They have time to discuss it even more and prepare their players even more than they already were. So it just wasn't a good decision. It's a slow developing play action. Alabama baited, Joey Aguilar made a terrible throw. He's been really good, but that was not executed well.
Yeah.
After he took a hit on the sideline, I don't think he was the same. But yeah, it just, by the way, again, he had some, misuse of a lack of use of timeouts prior to that. A couple plays before that, there was 27 seconds left, 2 timeouts on a 3rd and 2. Use a timeout there, and then you get the first down, and then you get the temporary stoppage of the clock. You throw the ball, you can have a full set of downs from inside the 5 to get into the end zone from the 2, because when they converted, they got to the 2. Instead, they only had, basically a couple of chances, and then they ran that at the end. It changed the game completely. And then, Tennessee just they, to their credit, they came out and got a 3-and-out on defense after that catastrophic ending of the first half. Then their offense scored a touchdown. Then their defense gets a turnover. They're near midfield, and they can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And so then they punt it. Alabama downed at the 1, and Alabama goes on a 99-yard drive, and then it's basically over again at that point. So this team has to improve in a lot of ways. 3rd and long conversions given up by the defense. Penalties, they continue to be among the most penalized teams in the SEC. And it always seems to lead. It takes away a good play and leads to another bad play. They had an 8-yard gain by Chris Brazzell, offensive pass interference on Staley, pushed them back. Then after that, Aguilar back near his own goal line gets sacked when the right tackle is blown up, and it leads to a safety. So instead of a positive play, you bring it back, and then you get a negative play on top of that. So a whole lot of that going on, and so there's tackling, a lot of things they need to get better at if they're going to do anything in terms of conversation with the college football playoff. And honestly, Rob, there hasn't been a ton of that this week because people can't envision that until they get better.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, Oakley, you were at that game, and when things start going south in the SEC and you're at a game, you know what they say, Ethel, we out of here. We going to Shoney's. What was it like there in that crowd when that play happened? And I know the Alabama fans, they never overreact or get to one way or the other. I mean, after the Florida State game, I thought they took it very well in stride. They all love. How many of them are wearing black hoodies at that game Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium with 180,000 whatever was there?
Yeah, I mean, in the SEC, you just can't at night game, big game like that. You can't have a play like that. You can't have a 14-point swing, especially against a team that's probably more talented than you are. Yeah. I mean, that was the loud. I've been to probably 30 games there. That was the loudest I've heard it. That play. And I mean, Tennessee, that game was way closer than the score was because, I mean, you take that was a 14-point swing right there. And then, with the drop balls and whatnot, I mean, Tennessee's Tennessee's right there with Alabama. You can't afford that. And the game changed. That was the game right there. But looking forward, you go on the road to Kentucky, which I think a lot of people are going to look over, which I think that's a potential trap game with Oklahoma next week. But after that, I think you can go into the swamp. This is the year to break that streak. You've got the running game going. You're going to need a little bit more out of it. I think Mike Matthews needs to step up over these next 5 games because his drops have – I mean, he's got to get it rolling. He's probably the most talented receiver for Tennessee. Maybe you get Ricky Gibson back. I think Jermod McCoy is close to coming back. If you lose another one, I don't know if he will. Maybe Vince can speak on that a little bit more. But, I mean, you've got a doable schedule coming up if you can win that Oklahoma game, and you're going to probably be favored from there on out. So, and you probably will be favored in that game too. So it's not all over for Tennessee, and they've got a manageable schedule upcoming.
Yeah, Vince, I got a wife in there that's just sad. I mean, she's just very sad about Tennessee. And I was with Mark Ham last night, cousin Mark up here with us. He's sad. I mean, but I'm with Oakley. And I look at Arkansas. If they had Dudley's right. If they had a defense, but Vince, I don't think anything happens to Josh Heupel either way. But it won't be a fun off season if they don't win. Yeah.
No, not at all. And then you would anticipate if it does end up going really south. And honestly, I would be surprised if it goes totally south. You're going to see some up and down performances, and but then you'd see some coach-initiated staff changes, which we have not seen. I mean, any changes have been guys moving on to other opportunities and then filling those spots, oftentimes from within. So there's been very little turnover during Josh Heupel's tenure, which is definitely a good thing. So, look, there's the Florida game. They haven't won there since 2003 as well.
Yeah.
Same amount of time and streak as losing at Alabama. And there's been down average to below average Florida teams that have still beat Tennessee, even in Knoxville, much less in Gainesville. So no one is taking that game or assuming they should they're going to win that. And then obviously Vanderbilt is a whole different beast from what they typically are, you can overlook that. They can't even overlook Kentucky either, because the last 4 games Tennessee's played in Lexington combined have been decided by 16 points. And the first one was a loss in a close game. So Kentucky can make their season. Mark Stoops, he gets his guys ready to go, especially in Lexington. They got Ole Miss last year. They're probably going to get somebody at some point. So you're there for the taking unless you get better and you're ready to go. And it's not a given for them that they are on the road.
Yeah. Dudley, Auburn is just what the doctor ordered for Arkansas this weekend up in Fayetteville. I mean, here they come. As a friend of mine said, Auburn is one bearded woman away from a full-blown circus. Bobby, we all know the Bobby Petrino relationship with Auburn. I've got to be at a wedding for my cousin's daughter getting married during football season.
Yeah, not a football fan, huh?
Vanderbilt grad, by the way. They should know better. What have they been? Haven't they followed Vanderbilt football for the last 4 decades? That's the problem they have.
A couple of things popped to mind here, Vince. Man, if they'd lost to Arkansas, the drumbeat at your place would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about, look, they could have beaten Georgia, prior to Alabama. We would have beat Georgia, would have been undefeated. Well, you also barely beat Mississippi State and you barely beat Arkansas. So those games can flip the other way on you too.
Yeah, I mean, in the one-score games, here at Arkansas, I'm sure that this Auburn game is going to be a one-score game. Might be 7-3.
Yeah, it could be.
But
I was there. I saw 3-2 in 2008 Auburn, Mississippi State.
I tell you, I'm looking forward to these next 2 games because Arkansas has the opportunity to have success, and I am tired of answering the same questions. In fact, I had to apologize to a man at Walmart yesterday because I just got out of the dentist chair and went over to Walmart to get a couple things. The first question he asked me was, who's going to be the head coach at Arkansas? I went, hell if I know. And then I turned around and I apologized. I said, look, dentist, and all that. But I'm at least honest about something. I'm ready to move on past these games and get to whatever they're going to do here. Because I'm getting tired of answering that question. I get paid to do it, but I'm getting tired of answering that question. And I really don't know for sure. Like you said, Bobby Petrino in the driver's seat, but you better get some laps going there.
Yeah. Hey, Oak, I know you have to go to class.
Yes, sir. Class of 9.
Okay, Oakley, thank you so much. Mac says hello. He's having friends over today. Dogs loving Nashville. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, man. That's great stuff.
Thank you.
All right. See you next week.
See you guys.
You bet. Both of y'all, like what Oakley said, he goes, he's been to a lot of games there. His dad's an Alabama grad. And so spends a lot of time, but he's in school at Auburn fan all the way. But as an intern, I like that take. It's the loudest he's ever seen it. And just remember, after the Florida State loss, Kalen DeBoer was being prepared for, to walk the Green Mile. It's Vince, I think the world we live in right now, the reactions are literally like we need some therapy. We need Bob Newhart to be the commissioner of college football because people are looking at the money they're spending and all that. But Tennessee football, how about having fun at the games? There's still, this is the luxury of being a host of this show. I'm an Auburn grad, but I love all 16 of these schools. Somebody's always having a good time, but I don't think anybody expected Vanderbilt and Missouri to hold the attention of the entire football world. This weekend, ESPN Game Day here. Man, there's no easy outs anymore. There's nothing. There are no weekend. I mean, double overtime for Texas at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Hey, Arch, you still going to New York?
Yeah, and look, the fact that teams that don't have great football histories in this conference, like Vanderbilt and Missouri, are doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think for those that have football history and aren't performing well, it only adds more pressure to you. Because they're like, you serious? Vanderbilt can go to the playoffs and we're where we're at? Yeah, that doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well with fan base. Doesn't sit well with the boosters, the people that are giving those big checks and donations when the schools really need them. So yeah, it is crazy. I've been meaning to do it. I haven't done it yet. To total out the percentage of games in the SEC that are one score games, I'm going to bet it's about 75% of the SEC games have been one score games this year. I mean, it's really NFL-ish where you just got to survive in advance. And then, it's so tough. You're not worried about the style points so much. It doesn't seem like we're talking about that maybe as much as we have in the past, where you got to really blow somebody out looking impressive, because everybody is dealing with it in this league. Even the team at the top of the standings in Texas A&M.
The one thing I know that's going to happen this weekend is Diego Pava will be the number one camera thing, and his mom will be number two. Now that they have discovered Diego's mom, I mean,
Dudley, I said that during our show this morning. I told John, what's the over/under on Diego Pavia mentions on College Game Day? Yeah. And he said it like in the thousands somewhere. I forget what the exact number was. And then I said, his mom would be number two in the mention. So
I saw her last year at a game, and I said, she looks like Sofia Varga. She's beautiful. Mother. I mean, I saw her on the side. I was like, wow. I mean, and Diego, that whole story, and Jerry Kill, think about him. He's been through a lot of health issues. And, that's Diego Pavia's, like, I guess, an anchor in his life, is what he said, what I see that man go through on a daily basis, and he just keeps coming back. I know there's been talk about Jerry Kill and that staff coming, but y'all remember when he coached at Minnesota and things were going well, and I think he had to step out for health reasons. Mm-hmm. He just keeps on fighting. I think that moving that culture from New Mexico State and his circle of trust over to Vanderbilt has been monumental.
And Dudley, I think the thing with Diego too is that people are of this now generation are getting to see what we saw with Fran Tarkington, Doug Flutie, those type of that height doesn't make plays measurable. There's more about heart, and this kid is so brash. I love that too. I mean, and I'm sure the other teams hate it, but if he's on your side, you love him. If he's not, you think he's
Oh yeah, you don't. And Vince, what's a lot of fun too is bouncing around the SEC, top to bottom. And I'll throw something. We talked earlier about Ole Miss has got to go play at Oklahoma, and then you got LSU with A&M coming into town. Then they've still got to play. LSU got to go at Alabama, and they got to play at Oklahoma. I mean, the season was way late before the drama kicked in. It took about 6 weeks for it to really kick in. And speaking of a great defensive coordinator for Arkansas, I'd go after Brad White at Kentucky. I mean, ask Texas, ask Georgia. They go there, and their offense gets a lobotomy at the drive-thru on the way to that field. I don't know what it is, but Brad White, I would if I was Arkansas, I'd say, do you like chicken tenders? Come on down here.
Brad White at Kentucky, Tony White at Florida State. I do believe that job's going to have some changes at the end of the year. I've always liked Mike Norville, but
me too.
And is the vote of confidence the worst thing you can get?
Vince, I'll let you have the word on that. That checkerboard orange and white stadium looks great, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it, and that's the kind of weather we're having, and weather is really good, blue skies. But Hugh Freeze apparently wants some vote of confidence. He'd love that. Yeah. So apparently it has some value to him, even if it typically is the kiss of death.
Yeah, and nothing personal against him, but you're 3 years in, Hugh Freeze, and I think the culture at Auburn has been softened. I mean, and I think the fan bases, at least at Auburn, have become comfortably numb with what is happening. Shout out to Pink Floyd, Roger Waters.
I didn't realize that they had started out these last few years without conference wins.
Yeah, 0-4, 3 straight years.
Yeah, it's you just like you said, it's numbing. I didn't realize that. You knew that they had struggled at some point, but you didn't know that. I mean, I didn't really think it had been that much that quick.
Yeah, and just you got to get a signature win, guys. I mean, Vince, Tennessee, the Georgia loss. every time you think about that. But you know what? We saw a similar situation. Mississippi State driving against Florida. You know, Brendan, our EP, last week straight up goes, I'm picking Mississippi State. And I went along with him. I was like, you know, I think Mississippi State wins. Why didn't they just kick the field goal? You look back at what ifs. Vince, Tennessee's got so many resources. Joey Aguilar, is this it for him? He's just getting this 1 year. He can't file an appeal and come back. But what about Merklinger and, you know, McIntyre, these backup quarterbacks? Have they gotten much playing time at all to make you think the future's bright?
No, we really haven't seen them. And even when we, most recently saw one of those non-conference games, it was all Merklinger. They didn't give McIntyre a series or two like we thought they would. And that's because, Josh Heupel wants to make absolutely sure that the game is put away before he starts going to his backups. And that's really kind of an offensive philosophy. Tim Banks is a little more liberal in substitutions on defense. Now, granted, that with them being banged up this year and not having quite the depth, they've kind of ridden some of their veterans on defense with a whole lot of snaps. But we don't know what they have there. I think the more known or exciting commodity is what they have committed to them in Faison Brandon coming in, who is among the best quarterbacks in this incoming class. So they get his signature, they get him on campus early. That's the guy. Like I think that guy is going to be an absolute star. You just never know, but man, you talk about all the skill sets and the physicality and the intelligence. He's been hurt though this senior year. So I think fans haven't been able to get as excited about him. But yeah, the QB position is going to be those two guys unless somebody transfers. And then Faison Brandon. It's going to be a very, very young room next year. And, but hey, what does that look like? What do they look like with the portal and just the one, portal entry, coming up in January? We'll see, because who knows? If you don't have a great close to the season, a lot of times there's more players that leave, and you may have more holes to try to fill.
Yeah, and I do love that new rule that people think that January 2nd through 16 is going to be the only time that people are going to discuss where they're going and stuff. You may not be able to get into the portal till then, and you may not be able to talk to somebody, but your uncle, your agent, your lawyer, the way it works these days, it's going to be even worse to me than back in the day during the under the table deals that you weren't supposed to think. There's always one thing that they don't do, and I can't put my finger on it, but always one thing that they don't do to close each loophole.
Well,
yeah, there was. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rod, real quick. There was a head coach I heard in a national interview. I forget who it was. He was talking about just that guys aren't going to officially enter the portal until it's open. But he said during the season, their agents are working to try to get their players into other situations while those kids are still. Now, the kids may be doing everything right, but that doesn't mean the agent isn't trying to set them up for after the year to have a new destination. So it's just unfortunate that setup that they've got. And anyone can declare going in the portal publicly on social media.
Yeah.
It just officially enters. Just officially, the name shows up there when the window opens. But by that time, a fair amount of these kids probably already have their destination set.
Yeah, officially, Arkansas's players still have 8 days left after they got grandfathered in with once Sam Pittman got fired. They had 30 days from the next day, so they've gotten until October 29th to actually get in there. I'm sure some of them already have. You could go through a roster and a playing list and probably pick out a few, but hasn't happened officially.
Well, it's like the silent auction or the live auction, and when you go to a gala or a fundraiser. And by the way, went to the People Loving Nashville gala fundraiser last night, and man, had a band come up there and played, guys, for King and Country. Played Drummer Boy live in front of us. I mean, wow. can those guys play drums? And I got to talk to the drummer. He's from Texas, and he said about an hour west of Fort Worth. I said Weatherford, which is where Landman is filmed or taped or whatever. But they're doing 5 straight performances at the Grand Ole Opry around Christmas, which has never happened at the Grand Ole Opry for King and Country. What a band. And they were – a lot of people donated generously for people loving Nashville. For both of y'all, Dudley, I'm with you. If I'm Arkansas, and y'all may agree with me, Bobby Petrino, you know you're going to score points with him. Get you Brad White to coach the defense. I mean, you can go look for some guy, but you know what you got with Petrino's offense. And Vince, let people know, how they can follow you. You do a great show every day. Nobody works harder at covering Tennessee. There's a lot of people out there that cover Tennessee, but I always like having you on because you're the tip of the spear, and you got a great sense of urgency in your voice and everything you say. And folks, watch him like you do Dudley. Watch their channels. Watch what they're doing. It is absolutely beautiful to watch journalism at work.
Well, I'll go ahead. I would say that yes, you've got to get a great defensive coordinator, but you're going to have to spend money on defense. The reason Arkansas's offense is so good this year is because they took money and loaded it up on that side with offensive linemen and running backs and wide receivers. The reason the defense isn't very good is that you can't make a great meal if you don't go out and get the groceries. And
that's right.
They went bottom line, not trying to disrespect, but you can see the numbers. And they've got to put money into that if you want to play defense in the SEC. It's that simple.
Yeah, it is. And Vince, how do they follow you?
At Vince Sports on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter/X. And then if you go to the Sports Source Digital Network on YouTube, there's a YouTube channel there. I'm on the ABC affiliate Channel 6's pregame show on Saturdays at 11 a.m. So they've got those segments and everything posted on that YouTube channel.
Look, great stuff from both of y'all. Thank you so much. We'll do it again next week, and we'll start talking basketball. It's right on top of us, and this is just the truth.
Tony Vitello.
Yeah, Tony Vitello. What's the latest?
We don't know.
Yeah.
We expected any moment a decision, whether he's going to the San Francisco Giants or staying here.
Seems to me the longer it goes, he stays.
Yeah, that's the thought. So it's just crazy. It's really taken over. Yeah. It's really at the top, I would say, considering what he's meant to this program and athletic department.
And he's made Tennessee baseball, and it also makes the rest of the SEC better. I mean,
we're reporting live from the hot tub.
Yeah, the hot tub. All right, let me wrap up and say something about our sponsors. We'll see y'all next week. Always love Vince and Dudley, 2 of the best in the business. Hey, folks, if you got to go out and get a new car, truck, or SUV, it ain't the doing in life that's so bad, it's the dreading. Just call LandersFordMemphis.com. Poplar in Houston Levy. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. They'll make the process easy. They've got Expeditions. They've got the Broncos. They've got Ford Escape, Ford Explorer. Again, top 5 in the nation in Expedition sales. Demo priced at X-Plan pricing. View the inventory. Huge inventory. Poplar in Houston Levy open every day of the week except Sunday. And they're right down the street from our good friends at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Philson Better Outdoors Clothes presents Music Night in the Boot Room, hosted by Hewlett & Dunn, featuring the Park Hillbillies. They put about 130 plus people in the boot room, and it's authentic. It is great. Charles Hall, Laura Hall, J.M. Huffman, Raven, Lydia, they're all there every day of the week. After Black Friday, they're open on Sundays. Philson, Barber, they've got the Pendleton, the Schaefer, Higher boots, so many good-looking men's and women's boots, Barber purses. They've got Philson luggage, duck heads like you've never seen. Get on that website, order, they'll ship it to you right away. HewlettandDunn.com. Look at those boots. They are fantastic looking. And remember, How You Fight's How You Live, Rumble Boxing, Union and McLean open every day of the week. And look, having trouble sleeping, pain management, get the Hemp for Pros, Lights Out Gummies, 25% off. Use promo code Sidelines at checkout for that discount. Hey, for executive producer Brendan Martin, Rob Brown, most often was Christ and the least among us. Stay tuned to this channel. Thanks for watching. See you tonight.